Hello and welcome back to the Unscheduled podcast. Today I'm your host Javi, and today I'm going to be joined by my co-host.
It's me, Zach.
I think I got Zach today because I didn't do the whole UFC fighter build up.
Nah, man, you got me with that. Usually you have this huge intro, but I think I know what you're saving it for. I think I know what you're
Oh
saving it
yeah,
for.
yeah. I'm saving it for our guest, the special, Jazzy, the jovial, our friend, and our special guest today, Peter.
Hey, what's happening? It's your boy.
Welcome, Peter. Welcome to our
Thanks.
humble little podcast.
Yes,
Yeah, glad to be here. Happy to be here.
Yep. How you been,
absolutely.
man?
It's quarantine season as it's been for a while, so I'm trying to vibe as much as possible. School's starting back up.
COVID
So
can't
yeah.
knock his vibe down.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's totally what he was saying.
Yeah.
But yeah. This is definitely Peter's first time here. Again, welcome. And Javi, you told me you had a topic for today, didn't you?
Yes. So, as both of you may know, I've been watching this little-known series. Maybe you might have heard of it. It's called Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Not a lot of people know about it. It's only like the most celebrated show on my anime list. Yeah, I've
Oh,
finally.
I thought we were gonna talk about the half plastic botanist sisterhood.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm on the wrong podcast.
Oh, I think I think you meant to go to the scheduled podcast down the street.
All of those other scheduled podcasts out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but yeah, we're gonna talk about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Obviously, as I just said before, easily one of the most popular animes, and I think after my
Yeah.
experience at least, I can definitely see why. But I'll leave that sort of like for our own sort of like discussion. But yeah, we're gonna start off kind of like from beginning to end. Nothing too like serious. This isn't like a like a TED talk.
Yeah.
We're not gonna
Yeah.
say human transmutation is like a symbol for this or something like that. No, nothing like that. Just like a
No, no,
general.
no, no. We're not analyzing it that much.
Oh
No.
yeah, no. Yeah,
Um,
no.
I guess mandatory disclaimer for an anime that's been out for 11 years now.
Yeah,
This will have spoilers.
yeah. Essentially, I
Yeah.
mean, because like I know for a fact, if you know me, like sometimes when I'm like just in like casual discussion, I'll make references to things like in like a show that happened like way later for like no fucking reason. So that's just gonna. I'm just letting you guys know that's gonna happen right now. So if you're here, just expecting like a general discussion of like like what happened in the first season. No, we're gonna like go all the way. We're gonna go to fourth base with this podcast.
All
So
right. Sounds good.
Whoa. Oh, I didn't know what I was signing up for.
yeah, so I mean, I guess we should just start with season one. So
Sure. Sure.
obviously, this is where we're introduced to all basically most of the recurring characters.
Mm-hmm.
Episode one, you kind of meet Edward and Alphonse, and you kind of see how they're being brought into the military by the Mestre military, and
Yeah.
like like what was your reaction like? So I'm assuming, did you guys watch the original before you watched Brotherhood, or did you not
I've
watch?
watched some of the original. I've never
Yeah.
actually like gone through all of the original.
Hmm.
Just because like I kind of stopped watching at the turning point where you could tell like they were just like not sticking to the original source material anymore. So I
Okay.
made it through
Yeah.
about that far, and then I could not get behind it anymore after that.
Okay. Do you think Brotherhood did a better job of sticking to the source material than the
Oh yeah,
original one?
yeah, 100%. Because I mean that's
Oh.
the whole reason for Brotherhood's existence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I haven't watched the original, but I know people who have, and we've had conversations. Yeah, the original. The problem with the original is they were making it at the same time as they were making the manga,
Yeah.
so they caught up to the manga and they still had to put out episodes. So they just kept going and made their
Yeah.
own kind of ending half or whatever. Um,
The Game of Thrones approach,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah, essentially like they made they made the episodes too quickly. And so like there
Uh,
were a lot of plots and other things that were put into the story that weren't part of
mhm.
the original, and then on top of that there were a couple things like abilities and tricks that just aren't in Brotherhood that they had there.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting though, because that like I guess that makes for like a different viewing experience. Like that's kind of interesting because like for us, like the manga's been out for like almost 2 decades now. So like I think that makes for like a pretty unique viewing experience. But what do we think of season one, guys? How did you feel when you guys watched it?
So I
I
will say
mean,
this. Oh no, go ahead, Peter. You're a guest. Go
oh,
first.
I was just gonna say. I mean, it really kind of it throws you in the deep end and gives you so many questions
Yeah.
to ask, and so much emotion. Like for episode 4, like goodness gracious,
Oh
man.
my God. Yeah.
Like you didn't have to do that,
Yeah.
but
No
I
like
didn't.
kidding.
episode 4 of the whole entire show, and you're already getting into that. So like, it really throws you in the deep end, but in a good way. I love
Yeah.
the pacing of it. Like
Oh yeah.
I hate anime with so much filler and stuff. That's like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this stuff. But yeah, I really love the pacing of the show.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest praises that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has, is that there is no filler like at all. It's just the constant story goes throughout the entire thing.
You know, everything really serves a purpose. Like, for example, episode four, like you guys just mentioned, it's sort of to like set the precedent for the fact that like, I guess we can like talk a little bit more about what episode four actually, what actually
Yeah,
happened.
you can, you can.
You meet Dr. Tucker, and he's like a guy who's like the leading expert on like chimeras and stuff like that. Which is like,
Yep.
if you don't know what a chimera is, it's when you fuse two living beings together, essentially. So
Yeah.
Um, and so he's like, you see that, Show Tucker is like in a really dark place. He just lost his wife, air quotes, air quotes. Um, and yeah, he just lost his wife. He's like in a really tough place, and he's about to lose his state alchemist certification. And
Right.
he has his daughter, and you're seeing all of this, and you see like how like it's a nice story about how Dr. Tucker is like dealing with like these struggles while being supported by his daughter. And then, halfway through the episode, the Elrics come back to Show Tucker's house, and they meet a chimera, and they realize after like almost like a few moments after they meet it that this a chimera is actually Tucker's daughter fused with her dog.
Yeah, with their family dog.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I forgot that happened so early in the show, because I don't know if I told you guys this, but I watched Brotherhood, like like when it came out, but I just completely dropped it. Like like I just like not because it was bad, but I just didn't keep up with it. So I just completely forgot. Like, oh my god, I forgot that happened so goddamn early in the show.
Yeah.
So I was just astonished. But the reason why I bring that up and why I kind of tie into the meaning of like how everything serves a purpose is that like that moment is supposed to like sort of illustrate like really just it alludes to the darker sides of like what alchemy can be really used for, and that's really kind of one of the main themes of the show is like how something can be used for good or bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like again, you put it pretty well. Like that episode right there, it set the precedent for the show because like I want to say that's the darkest moment within the entire show, arguably.
Arguably, yeah. I think you can make an argument for it.
I would say
Um,
100%.
there are a couple parts here and there that I feel like you could roughly also argue are just as dark, but we'll cover that when we get there.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I definitely liked about it was with episode 4, it showed you, hey, this is what you're in for. If you're not here for this, then this is the point where you bail out because it's like it's super early in the series and it doesn't stop from there. And then the other part I really liked about season 1, I would say, was just the fact that like you got the origin story very quickly, which
Yeah.
a lot of modern anime and manga don't really seem to cover as much anymore. Like there's a lot more you see now of like characters with like mysterious backstories or like, hey, this is a character you love, but we don't know until like 3 arcs later that what their backstory actually is.
Yeah, 1 minute flashback, and then you're supposed to like know what they're all about, like just from like a flashback or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it's like I was really happy that it's like, hey, these are the characters, these are their motivations, let's go.
Yeah,
So I
and
mean, that's what I
oh,
appreciated about season one.
yeah. Um, I also really liked episode 8, the Fifth Laboratory. If you guys remember that one,
Oh
that's
yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
that was where they fought the. If I remember correctly, that's where they fought the metal suits.
yeah. Barry the Chopper it was one of the ones that they fought, and
Yeah,
I really liked that episode because it really kind of like sort of sets up this tension between Alphonse and Ed because Barry the Chopper tells is it season 1 that they do this? It sets up the tension of like that Alphonse like his body is bonded to the suit of armor, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be bonded there forever. So it can kind of like builds up this anxiety and it really sets up this tension between Ed and Alphonse about what their motivations really are. And I just really enjoyed the episode for that, kind of like creating that tension between the two and then resolving that through the discussion.
I just want to say this: Barry the Chopper is an underrated character.
Yeah, like he was only around for like less than like a season's worth of episodes, but he was a really good character.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
fact that he was like this bad guy, and then he's just like, I'm this lovable idiot ally now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, he gets a little more backstory in the OG Full Metal,
Mm-hmm.
from what I've heard. So they kind of build him up a little more. But yeah, I really enjoyed his character. Very fun villain slash friend later on.
I really thought they were gonna do more with him, like the way they built him up in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see him come back as an ally, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna get my body back too. But then again, I also want to continue being a serial killer. And then, like, you see him go into, like, almost the major final fight, get totally destroyed. Then suddenly he's back, and I'm like, I'm not dead. And then 5 seconds later, literally dies.
Yeah, he dies. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was very disappointed in that, because I felt like there was still so much he could contribute to the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, it just it felt like unused potential there.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with that being said, we can move on to season 2 now if you guys want, because I don't think there's too
Sure.
much left there.
I'm trying to remember when I'm trying to look it up and see when a certain character hops in. I'm just looking up. Oh, okay. So this is actually, so Scar is also shown very early.
Yeah, how
If you
could I forget
guys remember.
Scar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a huge component of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually something I really appreciated, that he was a multi-season. I don't know if you want to call him a villain, but I more consider him almost on the level of a rival. To like to I guess the Elric brothers.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's like he's more of an antagonist, but not necessarily the villain, if that makes sense. Like he's definitely an opposing force for most of the show.
Yeah.
Early on, he's like definitely on a mission to like, kill all the fucking alchemists. Like no doubt about it. At least the state alchemists.
Yeah, at least the Ishvalan one, or not the Ishvalan ones, the
Mestrin one?
yeah, the Almestran ones, yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, can we talk about like the Israel Civil War for a second? That was rough.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Like, so the Israel Civil War obviously was started when like a certain soldier, air quotes, shoots a small child, and that kind of just kicks it off. And I just thought, the thing about this Israel Civil War for me was like it shows so many different components of like what different people are experiencing during that conflict. So you get, you know, I feel like this is so disorganized, but I'm just gonna talk about everyone that kind of experiences it, if you guys don't mind. Um, so there's Roy Mustang. Obviously, he kind of gets fucked up during that. Not too much actually. I think Roy, out of all the people that you kind of meet, during that conflict, or not during, but who were involved in that, I would say he was one of the people who was like obviously affected, but like, you see
Yeah.
everyone. I think he took it the best. I think, yeah, I would say that. Did you see that Hawkeye was in there? But that's not until later. Um, Maze Hughes was at the Civil War. Uh, Pour one out for Maze Hughes. That
Damn,
was
Yeah,
like
for real.
Krillin can't even die in his own series.
yeah. Wait, does the person who voiced Maze Hughes also voice Krillin?
Yes, that is
Really?
Krillin's
Oh,
voice
wow.
actor. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Huh.
no, that is Maze Hughes is voiced by the same guy who does Krillin.
Also, I just realized Fullmetal Alchemist has a bunch of A-list like voice actors. I just realized, like,
Oh yeah,
which
very
which
much
makes
so.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Which makes sense because like Fullmetal Alchemist, even like the original was like one of the like best animes. Like, so I guess it makes sense, or at least at least rated that way. But yeah. What else? During the Israel Civil War, obviously Scar. No, well, obviously, yeah, the Ishvalan's got the worst. There's no doubt about that. You can talk about the soldiers all we want, but yeah, the Ishvalans are the real like victims here. I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah. Um, but yeah, no, it was just so rough, and like using that as like sort of like kind of like I don't know. I guess I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I guess if you guys want, we can move on to season 2 for a bit.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So I'm. It's kind of all like mixed together. For me, I don't really remember what happens at certain points. I
Mhm.
just remember certain things happened.
No, yeah. So season 2 is like essentially where you see, you know, I think season 2 is when you start to see that King Bradley's a homunculus. That's kind of where you start to see it, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I might be.
Um, I'm trying to remember because I know season 2 was important because you started seeing the Sins doing a lot more.
No, yeah. So season 2 is when you meet Greed. You definitely see King Bradley fighting Greed as well. That's like I think that's literally the first episode of season 2, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You meet Ling. I know that.
Who's just one of the best
Yeah.
goddamn characters.
I love Ling. He's so good. He's such a
And, Greed as well, because they kind of, are inseparable for a
Yeah,
large portion of it.
they
Yeah.
merge later, which was really interesting when that happens.
yeah.
Yeah, I really love Greed. He's definitely my favorite homunculus.
No, yeah, big same.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what they were. Homunculus, not this. They were all just named after sins. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's when you meet Greed. Let's see.
I believe we also meet Lust that season, unless she was in the first season.
I'm pretty sure she was in the first
No,
season.
yeah, she was in the first season.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, it kind of all gets mixed together.
No, yeah, I understand that. I know for me, if I hadn't just watched the show like literally like within this month, I would definitely be all over the place as well. I mean, I am all over the place, even though I just watched it, because it's not the fault of the series, but they do like connect. I think it's more testament to the fact that they do like a good job of connecting back to certain points in the story that happened like way earlier, which is like both a good thing narratively when you're watching it, but now that I'm like trying to talk about it like as like actually like as the whole show, it's just confusing as fuck for me personally.
Right, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really well written show in the fact that like everything's important. You just might not understand why it's important yet until like season
Yeah.
4, when all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, remember this thing?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everything was very consequential.
Yeah, which is like kind of like part of the thing is like there's nothing in this show like it's like that old like like that like movie quote like don't have a gun in the room if you're not going to use it. Like
Oh yeah,
there
Chekhov's
there-
gun.
like in Fullmetal Alchemist there are like a million guns in the room and like all of them are like pulled at the same time with like like it's weird. Like like it's weird how they can introduce so many different things and like kind of like manage to create like a cohesive narrative. It's like it's
Yeah.
very wild to me.
I think the one thing, just covering the whole story as a whole for a moment.
Hmm.
I think the one thing is about everything, like I'm gonna I don't know entirely how to put this, but it's like in a way I'm a little bit blaming Netflix right now because I don't really think when it was originally released it was broken down into seasons.
Mm.
At least not off the top of my head. Like I think it was just released and then like they ran the show almost all the way through. I could be totally wrong. I don't remember. It's been a while since it came out, so
Hmm.
but the way they kind of have it now broken down into seasons, I think it kind of breaks like the cohesiveness of the entire story.
Hmm.
Like when you try to break it down into seasons.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So like,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
because
like,
arguably after like episode 7, once they like first, I think that's when they have their first conflict with Scar. It just doesn't stop from there.
essentially, yeah.
I don't know. What
Yeah,
do you think, Peter?
I'm pretty sure on Hulu it's not broken down into seasons, so I don't know. I wasn't around in the anime world back when it was originally released, so I couldn't tell you if it was originally in seasons or not. But I agree. It flows so naturally one into another. There's no like season finale feeling to most of these episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it just kind of flows in a nice way where it's just like I'm gonna keep watching. If I'm in part 4 now, I'm in part 4 now. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like when I watched it, like I watched all the entirety of like season one, right? And then like it went to season two, and it was literally like the same fight from like before. So I was like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah,
I didn't.
that's why I
It
was
was
like,
still season one. So I was like, but then I like stopped watching it. It was like season two already, and I was like, what the fuck? Like no
Yeah.
one told me it was season two. Like I thought there was going to be something different, but no, yeah, no, it was still like it's still like carried on like in that same fashion. So yeah.
yeah, I don't know why they did it like that. I'm just gonna say it was a Netflix pulling a Netflix move.
Hmm.
We've seen that they haven't handled anime the best.
Yeah.
So, it kind of is what it is. And for me, I'm just like, I felt like that needed to be addressed.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, continuing on, I guess the season 2 era, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. So I guess what we can do is we can call because the way I looked at it, the way I watched it, see the seasons were divided into like 13 episodes until like the last season, which is like only 12, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, or what we'll call like the seasons, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. So, yeah.
Right. I'm trying to remember really what happened around that time because, like, if you think about it, sometimes it almost feels like just one long movie slash episode at times with the show.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally agree. There are definitely like, um, there are definitely like segments. Not really. That's not the correct term, but like there are definitely episodes that you could stitch together, and those of themselves could be like 1 hour episodes for sure. I definitely feel that.
Yeah, what I remember more from season 2 is like I just remember they explored alchemy a lot more. Like they were giving a lot more explanation to it and like what could be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was season 2 also where they got split up, or was that not till season 3?
I'm pretty sure that does happen in season 2 towards the end of it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay, so
nowadays.
I think that's what sets the precedent for season 3.
Hmm.
If I remember, then season 2, was it season 1 or 2 then where Lust dies? Because I remember watching when I was rewatching it. Lust dying early was like a very huge shock to me.
Yeah, honestly, I did not expect it to happen as early as it did. I'm pretty sure it happened in like the first season. No, it's the I think it's the second season. Yeah, it's the second season that it
Okay,
happens.
because it's second season. I remember they're dealing with the whole like Heaven's Door investigation thing or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
And so like you see Roy Mustang get like a sort of revenge
Hmm.
in how and like eliminating lust for like, because she had framed one of his petty officers, and then like this entire time you were seeing him deal with like this whole revenge thing while also carrying the burden of having the flame alchemy stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Mustang was a little bit of the most confusing character to me at times.
How so?
Well, okay. I'm gonna say something a little controversial here.
Okay.
He is not the hero everyone paints him out to be.
Okay.
Well, yeah, he did commit war crimes. So.
Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not only not just that. Not just that, because I know like people really love Roy Mustang in terms of like the fandom of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
All right, go ahead and call me out, man. You don't have to hide it, man.
Roy's the boy. I'm curious to see what you're trying to say here.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Just let us know.
The other thing is, to me, it's like 90% of his actions that he does is just self-driven. I guess selfishness, because like the entire thing, and you see him pull it out more towards the end of the show, is like he's been doing everything, but it's almost been a political game to him, where it's like, oh, if I do this action, I will become like the head general or the Fuhrer or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not just I'm doing this because this is right or a promise I made. I'm doing this because I want political power.
No, yeah, I think you're definitely right there. Like, I think like. So him like caring about the boys that I'm gonna call them the Elrics, is definitely I still think that's a big part of his character. But overall, like you know like overall like his thing is that he wants to be the Fuhrer, and like he knows that kind of like his like kind of gateway into that is like kind of like following along with the Elrics and seeing like how they can like actually like achieve what they're trying to achieve, because he knows like not he knows, but like he's essentially following them, like kind of like keeping an eye on them to make sure like, oh, this might actually help me a lot, you know. So yeah, he's not like a pure-hearted person, you know what I mean? He's definitely not that.
He's chasing the bag. I can appreciate a man who chases the bag.
Yeah, he's chasing the bag. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm just saying he's not the hero and like lovable character everyone makes him out to be.
Okay, no,
I think he could still be lovable. Even
I still think he's very lovable. I will say that. I think he's very like enjoyable as a character. He's so funny sometimes. I think he's hilarious, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that. I don't know. It's just like everyone kind of holds him on a pedestal when I see like, and this is just me going to like conventions, fan meetups, and stuff, and they hold Mustang as like this god tier character, and I'm like. But is he though?
I think part of the reason people like his character so much is because there's flaws. There's too many characters in a lot of these shows where it's like, oh, this is just a flawless character that does flawless things. Whoop-de-doo. And that's like fine and good, but like the conflict in Roy and the deeper meaning behind his actions gives him that depth people enjoy.
All right, I'll give you that. I think it's just to me where it's like. I see fans who hold Roy Mustang up, and it's like, he does no wrong.
Okay,
and that's where I'm like, that's where it bothers me, because I'm like, really? He did all of this?
Yeah, I think I can definitely agree with you there, because there's this, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's this one character in Persona 5, who's like, they're a really cool character. I do enjoy their character a lot, and they get like a lot more fleshed out in the Royal. But that person does a lot of fucked up shit, and a lot of people kind of forget that he does fucked up shit, and that he's just like a cool guy. No, he's not a cool guy. He literally like kills people.
Yeah.
So like, and like they're just like so quick to like let that person get away with that. So I mean, I totally agree with you there. Like there are some people that are just a little bit too willing to let like, you know, certain like motivations and like, you know, past actions like go and just like be like, haha, he like it gives people flowers or something like that. That's not, you know what I mean? Like
yeah. But continuing on, so we got to around, I guess, quote unquote season 3, and that's when I consider they go off to like the mountains and the northern fort.
Yeah.
which really for that series as a whole, it cemented to me that like season 3 cemented to me that no matter how small of a character you were, so long as you had a name, you were an important character.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
like Yogi for one thing, but Yogi, that guy, like he for somehow he like I don't know how like okay, I will say this. So you mentioned like small character. I don't think Yogi was like introduced that well, in my opinion, because like he's introduced in like the first season, right? But it's not explained until like season 4, like why he doesn't like the Elric brothers, like why he's keeping an eye on them. And
Yeah.
even then, it's like kind of like not explained like it is explained, but it's like
It's kind of brushed over. I get
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah, like I just feel like okay, I still don't really understand. Like I understand why, but I just did not have that like sort of attachment to him as a character, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I think
That's
with
cool.
season 3, also, it's just like you get the best set of characters, or you get the second half of the best set of characters. And that's, so we didn't address this, but in season 1, you get Lieutenant Armstrong, who is the manliest man you will ever see.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
A
But then you get
mustache that,
General Armstrong in season 3,
yeah.
and she's the powerful woman that doesn't mess around.
Essentially, like when you hear people like say like, "Oh, I want her to step on me," like that's what you like
That's
imagine.
something she'll legitimately do.
Yeah, like she'll do it, but like not like in a kinky way. Like she's actually just
No.
gonna like actually like stomp your head in. Like
I think just the best part about it is that you see almost like they're two opposites of the same coin. Like Lieutenant Armstrong is like this super buff mustache that can stop bullets kind of guy. But he's you see he's a very gentle soul and very caring. While you see General Armstrong, who is kind of dwarfed by all her troops around her, have this kick-ass, badass energy that it's like, you're going to submit to me or I will kill you.
yeah, no, like you have to like in order to be a big soldier, you have to like overcome everything I'm gonna throw at you, or you're just gonna die. Like that's literally that's like the law of breaks. Like that they have that thing right where like like you have to like I forgot what it is, but they have like a code at breaks or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is either, but I know what you're talking about.
No, I don't know. Like I know what you're talking about, but I have no idea. But like I think for me, General Armstrong is by far like the epitome of what is a strong female character.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially because even though she doesn't use alchemy, surrounded by like in a world where that essentially like uses alchemy like the way some like vloggers use drones. I mean like she just stands up to like every test that really gets thrown at her, and I really appreciate that because all she has is like her own like inner strength and then like a sword, and like there's one scene where like you see her like literally toss around like Alex. I just think that's the funniest thing.
Yeah, Lieutenant Armstrong,
Yeah.
who again dwarfs her.
Yeah.
He's like this super ripped, like bodybuilder-esque guy, and she just destroys him.
Yeah, like literally, you could probably fit like 5 Oliviers inside of Alex. I don't like that image anymore. Sorry. Jesus. But anyways,
Quick, Peter,
yeah,
pull us away.
Here's an ad.
all right, Dollar Tree.
Sponsored by
Yeah.
Raid Shadow Legends.
You got ads yet? I don't know.
Yeah,
God,
but
maybe one day. Maybe one day.
yeah. But yeah,
But-
no, she's great. I love her.
Yeah, the great character. What I also really loved about season 3, I think, is just the step up in music they have, like the soundtrack and everything. Because again, with season 3, nothing stops. Like the show just always continuously to me got faster and faster.
No, I definitely agree with that.
And the music for that just like really held that together.
Yeah.
But do you have anything from around that time, Peter, that like really stuck out to you?
For that, like in the season 3, quote unquote,
Yeah.
era, not really. I mean, it's just like every episode just stacks upon each other. And it's really well done. I really loved Fort Briggs and that whole deal. That was a great little arc there. Yeah, I don't really have
Yeah.
much else to say.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, it's so hard to explain the show at times too. I feel like, just because it's like you won't entirely understand what we're talking about until you watch it yourself.
Yeah. This season actually is also one. I think Winry meets Scar, and Scar obviously, if you don't know, well, no, we know. If you're watching, you probably watched the show.
If you made it this
Scar,
far.
yeah, Scar is the guy who killed Winry's parents, and that obviously is like a really powerful moment because, no, oh no, that's not when she meets him. That's when they're already at the mine, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. They're at the mine town, and instead of like like Scar actually gives her the option of killing him, and instead of doing that, she actually tells Scar, hey, no, I don't really forgive you or anything like that, but we need you to make sure we stay alive. And I thought that was a really very mature and very like sort of like powerful moment, especially for Winry, who like the moment I was thinking of, like I think it was the season before. She also had another chance to kill Scar with a gun, and she decided not to. Well, Edward, kind of coaxed her into not doing it. Anyways, um, I just thought that was a really great moment because like you kind of compare that to Edward, who would like literally refuse to like cooperate with Scar basically on Winry's behalf. But Winry herself kind of says like, oh, okay, no, I'm going to be like the bigger person. There's like bigger things at stake. We're going to need your help to like actually pull this off.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, season 3 was, quote unquote, season 3 was a massive turning point
Mm-hmm.
for like all of the show. I would say like it definitely directed you more into like, hey, this is what we're doing now, and
Mm-hmm.
it still connects to this from like see episode 2.
No, yeah. Yeah, and then that's also kind of a season where like the Elrics are kind of being like literally held hostage, not literally, but like mentally held hostage by King Bradley. Because at that point they know like King Bradley's a homunculus. Um, they need the Elrics as part of their plan to like sort of like their big plan. And then what else? That's but like that episode that I was talking about. I think it's episode 39. That's the kind of turning point for like when the Alberts are like, no, screw this. We're gonna live our life on our own terms, and we're still gonna try and get our bodies back, even if it means we're gonna have the whole military on our ass. So, I mean, I thought that was just a great season overall in terms of like, I think that season overall is definitely like where things, like you said, Zach, is where things really start to pick up towards, like with a clear vision of what's gonna happen at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about season 3 is that is where we meet my favorite characters,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the Chimeras.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, the
yeah.
Chimeras.
I literally watched the last episode last night. What the hell's wrong with me? There's Zampano, which was I think he was the pig guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so I have to pull up these characters again, but
Okay. So there was a pig guy, there was a frog. Well, they say he was a frog.
Yeah.
He didn't look like a frog at all, in my opinion. But that's beside the point.
So there's Zampano, Heinkel,
Yeah.
Darius, and I think I can't remember the last guy's name. But essentially what they all do is one of them I know Darius turns into a gorilla man.
Mm.
Heinkel was the one who turned into a lion chimera.
Yeah.
Zampano was yeah, he was the boar pig thing that shot out freaking spikes.
Yeah, which was kind of weird, but it was cool, I guess.
I don't know. I was just like when I first saw that transformation, I'm like, what? Just just what?
I'm gonna be
Oh,
completely honest.
Jerzo is the last one. Jerzo is the
Yeah,
frog guy who spit like saved the day at one point.
yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That happens in what we'll call season 5, I think, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
But yeah, even though they were originally like villains, quote unquote, they turn into good guys very quickly, and just to me, they became like great fan favorites.
Oh yeah, I loved all the chimeras. Like honestly, well, except for Nina. But anyways,
All right, both of you, real quick. If you had to pick which chimera out of those four you would want to be, which one would you be?
I forget which one. Probably I would say the gorilla one. I forgot his name, but the gorilla one would
Gorilla
probably be
Man,
my
that is
favorite.
Darius.
Yeah, Darius. I love God Darius.
I like the one that shot the spike thingies, the porcupine or
Yeah.
whatever.
So
Hmm.
Zampano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would honestly want to go with Heinkel just because the idea of a lion head and then just like charging and biting with that's like a really cool idea in my head. But Darius is like a very close second.
Yeah. Darius is
All right.
like the most like snarky and like most sarcastic one, I think. He's just very funny.
Yep. All right. So then there's season 4, right?
Yeah. So
All
season
right.
4 is actually when you get sort of like backstory on like who Fodder actually is. So this is when you see like uh this is actually both Fodder and Hohenheim's kind of backstory. So
Yeah.
you see it flashes back to like I think like almost like 1700, 1600, something like that, to Xerxes, and you see this guy who looks like young Edward Elric. And they're called Slaves 23. And there's also a flat, there's a homunculus, obviously, in the flask. And I just really like this episode because this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, so, like, some anime, like, you see, like, a 1 minute flashback for like a really important character, and all of a sudden you're supposed to understand them. You get, like, a solid episode with a lot of detail of just why Hohenheim is the way he is and why Fodder looks the way he does, And that episode was just great. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really
Um,
good, like the breakdown of Hohenheim. But yeah, go ahead, Peter, if you got something.
yeah, I think this might be my like favorite quote unquote season, just because there's so much that happens as far as backstory, and then in addition to that, there's the fight between greed and wrath.
Hmm.
There's the fight with pride. Pride's one of the coolest homunculi as far as like the fight scenes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Pride's nuts.
definitely.
Um, we have interactions between Hohenheim and Ed finally in this
Yeah.
season. So yeah, I think this is one of my favorite sections of the show.
Yeah.
I think one of
Uh,
my favorite things about that season is just like you see Edward and Hohenheim meet for like the first time, and his immediate reaction is just to go ahead and punch him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which honestly, I don't know. It's not my place because, like, obviously, like, that's how Ed feels about his dad, who hasn't been around for a long time. But like, at the same time, like, knowing like what Hohenheim has gone through and like knowing like why he left, to me personally, it kind of makes me cringe to think about it a little bit, to be honest. Because like, I've been saying this ever since like they showed Hohenheim, like that episode where like Hohenheim's like around a campfire. Hohenheim deserves so much more in life. Like Hohenheim, in my opinion, was best boy. Like as weird as that sounds, like I firmly believe Hohenheim was best boy.
it's a bold statement right there.
Yeah,
That's
no
that's
kidding.
that's just my opinion. Like I like Mustang. I like Alphonse is a great character. I like a lot of the characters, obviously, especially the protagonists. Um, but Hohenheim just deserves so much more from life. Literally, like living essentially like 300 years of pain. Um, that sucks. obviously, but at the same time, it makes him like a really strong character as well. Not just like in terms of like his writing style, but like as actually as like a tactician almost. Like he's just a great like fighter as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the greatest things you see is just how smart and like understanding he is of the situation.
Hmm. And like seeing him come together with like his two sons and actually trying to figure out like, okay, how are we gonna actually like beat fodder is like one of the most rewarding things to actually see in the series, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do understand like why Ed would hold that regression. Like he's a
Oh yeah,
kid still.
yeah, exactly.
Like it makes total sense for him to be like pissed off, especially given that his character is pretty much being a piss baby, anyways. So.
Yeah,
No offense, I love the character, but it's kind of what his shtick is.
yeah.
Fair.
The the metal armor pipsqueak.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much. Um, but yeah, Hohenheim's an interesting character for sure. I enjoyed what they did as far as giving him depth.
no,
It,
yeah,
it really was his season for the most part. Like a lot of it
yeah,
revolved around him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The other thing I will say, it was kind of interesting to see them take care of a couple of the homunculi, because again, you thought like I kept thinking like, oh, they're not going to take care of these guys until like the very end of the show, but no,
Hmm.
you actually see them start dying and like dropping off.
Yeah, so there's Gluttony who like literally gets eaten alive by Pride, which was like one of the most jarring moments for me. Not like in like a in a plot way, but like in like how it like physically made me feel. I was like, whoa. I was not expecting like Pride to like literally consume Gluttony because that was just so wild to me to like see like him literally licking his lips. Okay, I'm just gonna say this right now. Pride has one of the most punchable faces,
oh for sure.
which
Oh
sounds
yeah.
which
Oh
sounds bad because he's a
yeah.
kid. Which sounds bad because he's a kid technically, but like his like smirk and like the way he talks. Oh my god! Like I would definitely land a. I would definitely land. I would throw hands with him if I could. Like not even like exaggerating.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Actually, you know what? We spoke about our favorite like chimeras. Who I think? Okay, Peter. I think you said is Pride your favorite homunculus?
I think Greed, but
That's
second
right.
place would go to
Yeah,
Pride, and
yeah.
then Wrath, and then the rest can fall after that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, Zach, who would you say is your favorite homunculus then?
Um, it's a little hard to pick because
Hmm.
really, so some of them we don't really get too much depth on. I
Hmm.
want to say.
Yeah.
Um, Greed really is like the best homunculus because like you see him go through essentially three types of characters. You see
Yeah.
the original Greed, you see brainwash Greed, and then you see Greed who's like mixed with Ling,
Yeah.
and everything like Greed struggles with, and he's the most human out of all of the homunculus. The irony of it all.
No,
And
yeah.
then
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, and then I would say Wrath slash Bradley is like the second best really because he's such a good villain. In my
Yeah,
head.
Just
It's not like this deep, tragic, emotional backstory. It's just like no, he's a villain because he's just like I have the intelligence and power to do this, so I'm going to do it.
yeah. Plus, Bradley was like literally raised to be the Führer, like which I thought was an interesting part of his character. Is like
oh yeah,
he was literally breeded and raised to like be like essentially the strongest man in the country, at least like the strongest like quote unquote human. So like that was a really interesting part of his backstory that I really enjoyed because like it shows like it's really apparent towards the end that like he like it's kind of sad to think about like he really had no control over his life. It was planned basically from the start, and he had to like watch all of these people like that were like it could have been anybody. You know what I mean? Like out of like what it seemingly was like 100 like human test subjects, like it was just like the off chance that he was the one that survived and became Fury. But like you see it later on, like literally any one of those people could have been Fury, and he would have just been tossed to the side. So I just thought that was a really interesting part of his character.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's an interesting character. I also wanted to say I like Envy as well,
Mm,
um, especially like that death scene with Envy. Like
That
that
was
was
the most
something.
interesting, really.
yeah. Yeah, that happens in what I guess Netflix considers season 5, but I know what you're saying. Like that was very powerful and really raw, because um, I guess to just kind of skip ahead a bit, like he essentially like kills himself. You know what I mean? Like he takes the stone out of his own like body, and
Yeah,
he chooses to die that way, kind of like not like they say like as they kind of describe it in the show as like the easy way out, but I think that's kind of his way, as like having some sort of control over his life and like not just kind of like falling at the
Yeah.
fate of people who like he admires in a way, like like that's kind of his like his like his character is like he actually like kind of like secretly like haha envies these people that he's in the room with.
I mean, yeah, the thing with like how Envy goes out and how they just like that was the one of the other few death slash moments where I'm like, the more you read into it, like the darker it kind of gets.
Yeah.
And like if you read the manga, that section gets a little bit like they go on a greater monologue that goes into a little bit more detail. I would have to look it up to bring it up to you, but like it's just like that is definitely one of the somber dark moments I would give, but it, like you said, that's Envy losing on their own terms.
Hmm.
And then but they were this villain you hated. Like I would argue everyone hated them throughout the entire series because they're the ones who had killed Hughes, they had framed Maria,
Yeah.
and then you see them come back and then you almost feel sorry or like you feel pity towards Envy at the end of it.
Yeah,
yeah.
like
They really like that whole like monologue at the end there that they have is so just like wow. Like
yeah, it
it's
was
like
so
dang.
indicative. Yeah, it was so indicative of his character. Like the fact that he just like Envy just like fed on chaos. Like he was like talking about like how like, oh, why aren't you guys like literally like killing each other? Like why are you like working together for like this nonsense? And I just thought that was interesting. And like like kind of talk about Envy a bit more. Like if someone says Envy is a one-dimensional character, you just know that that person hasn't watched the show. Because Envy, I would say, is actually one of the most interesting and like fleshed out characters in the show, because
Yeah,
you kind of see like there's this like really big distinction between like Envy, like when he's not like literally trying to kill someone and being like literally crazy, and when he's just like talking to like the like the protagonist and stuff like that. Like on one hand, like yeah, he is actually like crazy and like literally is like just trying to like just consume shit, but at the same time, like Envy is like also just he kind of like is like one of the, apart from greed, I think he's one of the homunculus that actually like does the best job of actually trying to communicate with the protagonist in a weird way. So I just thought that was a really big part of his character.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you pretty much nailed the head. The you pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
There you got it.
I promise you, I can English. But yeah, I mean, going off of that, like at that point, it's just season 5, and there is a lot of details we've missed, but we can't really say all about the show in like an hour.
No,
But
yeah,
season 5 is where you definitely get the climactic battles and everything.
yeah, a lot of catharsis in season 5, I would say for sure. Um,
Hmm.
like well, something I really liked about season 5 was the mind games. You really see like how, so at the beginning of season, what we will call season 5 is like, you see that they capture Miss Bradley, I guess, yeah, like the Fuhrer's wife. they captured her as a hostage, and they kind of used her actually as like a pawn to like sort of sway people in support of Roy Mustang against Bradley, or not against Bradley, but like as a successor to Bradley. And you kind of see that in like sort of like you know um just the way they like kind of like obviously there's a lot of like physical battles going on, but there's so much more going on in the dialogue and sort of the what's happening in Central. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. There is This is the only time I can ever feel like I could, in a weird way, I enjoyed politics. Was because of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, like the politics of that anime specifically.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and like kind of along the lines of the mind tricks and stuff. It's like the plot twists that happened, like pretty much every episode, were stellar. Like, it just kept twisting and turning, and you really had no idea what was going to happen. I really appreciate that. I appreciate a non-linear path through a story.
Yeah. Let me just say this. So like, we're talking about like the structure of the show and stuff like that. If I didn't know that there were 64 episodes in the series, there are a lot of parts of what we'll call season 5 that I thought was going to be the last episode. You know what I mean? Like there were so many moments where like if I didn't know about like the episode count, I would have thought, oh, okay, that's when the show ends, right? Like there are so many defining moments just throughout that season where I could have said like, oh yeah, you could reasonably like end the show here and it would be fine.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I feel like just going through a quick synopsis of season 5 is really interesting. So, breaking it down, you have the coup that started from the north with all these Ishvalans coming into the capital, and they just kind of hang out in the capital. So you think, oh, they're about to start a riot here. Then on top of that, you have the base getting blown up, and then the zombie apocalypse starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you still have all the major players fighting each other at the exact same time, all of it starting from a train bombing.
Yeah.
So,
and just fucking father who just like swallows a son at all, or creates a son or whatever. Like that was crazy.
It just it didn't. Oh my gosh! Like looking at it on like from the show, everything makes sense when you watch the show. But looking at it from an outsider's perspective, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like to me, one of the best scenes you still have is Bradley coming back and essentially being a one-man army.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking about this with Peter last night actually about how like you see Bradley come back and like it was funny because during the fight with Greed, Greed actually tries to actually like use his blind spot because of the eye patch because he can't use it while he's wearing it in public, right? But at that moment, Bradley kind of realizes, oh, I have nothing to lose anymore. I can't nobody at this point it doesn't matter if people know I'm a homunculus because if we succeed, I'm gonna live forever or something like that. So like he just takes off the eye patch and you see how like Bradley just has no fucks to give anymore, and like he just is just tearing people apart. I mean it was wild to see that development of his character.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he could go one-on-one with a tank speaks volumes in itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Sloth can't be killed by a tank, then I would imagine that Bradley couldn't. You know what I mean? Because like.
Yeah, that's true.
If I remember correctly, though, during the entire thing, out of all the homunculus, I don't think Bradley/Wrath actually has a power.
His power is that he can see like people's weakness. I think, right? Like his eye. Yeah. It's like yeah.
But he's not like the other homunculus, if I remember correctly. Like they say, his body is actually like mortal.
He doesn't
Yeah.
regenerate and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's true.
Right, he doesn't have the regenerative, but I think he also does have like faster reflexes, like superhuman reflexes,
Yeah,
that
like
kind of thing.
yeah, he's superhuman in that way, like physical strength and stuff like that. But like he's not like the other homunculus and like that they're essentially like immortal.
Yeah,
Yeah, so for me, when I looked at that, I was just like, he's still one of the most badass
And arguably the strongest of all of the homunculus.
I can agree with that actually. I mean,
yeah,
he's
I can probably agree with that.
yeah, because like I mean, he got there towards the end, so I'd say that's a big accomplishment. He survived,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
until the last season, so that's worth something.
But I will say, he has the most satisfying and least satisfying death at the same time.
Mm.
it was a cool scene though.
Oh, I agree. 100% agree. Because if I remember correctly, it was him versus Lin and his bodyguard, question mark?
Hmm.
And then there's also the Gramps and Yoki, who like have the most badass way of going out.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. It's just like all of that. You see, like Peter said earlier, there is this all these twists and turns of like, oh, you think they're going to end this way? No, they're going to end this way. And then finally, once Bradley is down, he's just like, oh, because you chose to listen to my backstory, I get to die in peace and not by your hands. And I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was just kind of like his last fu to like not only the characters but the audience too. So I'm just ah.
Yeah, because he was like, yeah, because like I think it was what's Lon Fawn. She was the one that was about to like she was gonna like unload the clip on him, but then Bradley like starts like talking like he essentially does a fucking soliloquy, and then Lon Fawn's just like sitting there listening to it, and then he's like, oh, you couldn't kill me because I'm about to die anyways, and so you're not gonna be able to avenge your grandpa. Bye. I was like, okay. I mean, that was that just infuriated me.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, just the way overall is like the way Bradley dies is like again satisfying but unsatisfying at the same time.
Yeah. No,
I was
agree.
satisfied enough with it personally, but
You're
I get what you
satisfied
mean.
enough that he's dead, but at the same time, like I just wish it would like she had gotten her like revenge and stuff.
No, yeah, seriously.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we think about the ending?
Fantastic. What a
Oh
showdown.
yeah. One of the best animated endings ever, really. And the fact that they tie up everything, like there is no loose end I can think of in the story.
Hmm.
It just works out perfectly. Like that's how you do a series finale.
Yeah, I have
Yep.
no complaints about how the series ended. I like how they had a separate episode kind of for like the epilogue. I really enjoyed that. Like they gave like I was saying, like they gave like a lot of attention to like certain aspects of the show. And they made sure to like really follow through on it. And I think by like having a separate episode for like saying like where everyone's going, like what they're trying to do after, all these conflicts, I think that was really nice.
I agree.
And then
Yeah.
Ed is a complete nerd. He was like saying like, "Oh, if you give me 50% of you, to Winry, if you give me 50% of you, you have to give me 50% back." I thought that was that is the best love confession I've ever seen.
Arguably one of the best confessions slash proposals you've seen in anime ever.
Yeah. Also, like, is it just me or is it weird that okay, so Hohenheim, obviously it makes sense that Edward basically almost looks like a carbon copy of him. But in the end credits of the last episode, like you see that Ed is holding his male his son, and it also looks like a carbon copy of him. So I'm wondering is the DNA that strong from like the Hohenheim lineage that like literally every male son is gonna look exactly like Hohenheim? Like what the fuck is going on here? I no, you know what it is? It's the Philosopher's Stone thing. That's what's happening. It's
right.
that Philosopher's Stone DNA that like is keeping like a Hohenheim's image like that's gonna get, like until like the heat death of the universe, there's gonna be like one person on human Earth that looks like Hohenheim. That was just insane to me.
That
I
and
mean,
also it was Ed and Winry, both blonde people, making a blonde baby. Like it's gonna be pretty similar.
No, but
yeah.
the face literally looks like Ed too, and it's like, bro, like, is it really just gonna look like Ed again? Like, bro.
I just like there is so much, and then there's. I hate to cover this so much because it's such a weird territory for me, and I don't really want to address it. But then there's also just May, who we have not talked about this entire time,
Yeah.
who was one of the other princesses from Jingxi's.
I think it's just Jing, isn't it?
Oh, Jing. I don't entirely remember how to pronounce it.
It's Shing. It's Shing.
Shing.
Yeah, I
Okay,
remember.
Shing. Okay.
That's Shing. Yeah.
So from Shing,
Yeah, Shing.
and so it's like her whole character is very interesting because she's not only a fangirl but actually someone with a bunch of power.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure like where her story kind of fits at the end of the epilogue, because I remember she said she was going to go back to Shing, and then you see her in like the final picture grown up with everyone.
Yeah. No, in the epilogue, you see Alphonse says that she's gonna travel with Alphonse, I think, and learn more about Alcahesper, I think, in the East. That's what her like story is, I think.
Yeah, I think she
Because
needed to figure out the alchemy stuff so that she could bring something back to her people.
yeah,
Because she left in search for Philosopher's Stone,
yeah,
so
Yeah,
she needed
yeah.
to return with something.
yeah,
Which is
and
which is essentially the entire point of the show, that everyone is looking for a Philosopher's Stone because the Elric brothers are looking for it to revive their mom if possible. Others are looking for it to gain immortality. Others are looking for just power. Everyone has their reasons.
yeah. I mean, like Ling and the interesting thing is like both Ling and Mayor for Shing, and they're that's kind of like another part of the story is like they're like conflicting in like which family is gonna take control of Shing, and it was really interesting because like Ling at the end, he's the one that comes out with the Philosopher's Stone, which was really cool, I think. And then May's crying because like, oh no, my clan is gonna die, and then Ling's like, nah, I'm not gonna let that happen. You guys are safe.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
the other clans, they're fucked, but you guys are all right.
You two clans specifically are going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Out of like
exactly.
23 clans, I think they said.
Yeah. Like, so the emperor from where Ling was from, he had like 20 sons or something like that, and then all the other clans like also had that kind of like dynamic going on. So it's like, oh my god, like the power struggle in this country is insane. Like you got like hundreds of people like vying for like that emperor's seat. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, there is so much to this anime we cannot explain in just one episode.
Yeah, I guess the main thing that you should take away with this is that if you gotten this far and you haven't watched it for some reason, go and watch it, because I mean I don't think any like review podcast or really anything could really do the show itself justice. I think
Right.
in order to fully experience it, you really have to watch the show. So I think that's really where I kind of want to cap it off. I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Go watch the show. It's good.
Yeah. That's our Roger Ebert review. That's our Roger Ebert review.
Roger Ebert.
Roger Ebert. Yeah, 4 out of 4. Go watch it. This guy doesn't like to drink milk. Yeah. So I think with that, I think we're pretty good to go for this episode, guys.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Peter, we mentioned before the show that do you want to throw out like a plug before the show ends?
Sure thing. Yeah. I've got a Twitter at Peter F Baylor is my professional Twitter. I will sometimes post my music stuff and some research stuff on there because I kind of do a little bit of both. And I also have a SoundCloud, Peter Baylor on SoundCloud. Um, so yeah, that's kind of all I've got going on right now. I might start Twitch later, but I'm not gonna plug that yet.
Ooh, nice.
All right, man. Sounds good. But thanks for being on the episode today.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
With that being said, thank you guys for listening, and we really appreciate it. Hopefully, you guys tune in for the next episode, which who knows when that will happen because it's unscheduled. So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in, and thank you to Peter again for being our guest. And yeah, we'll see you guys later.
All right. Bye.